Hello, I'm Cecil Bishop, Chairman of the Congress of National Black Churches, a coalition of 8 historically black denominations whose mission is to foster Christian unity, charity, and fellowship, and to collaborate with ministries that promote justice, wholeness, and fulfillment. As part of that mission, we are committed to helping people develop their physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. That's why we're very pleased to present this program about diabetes as part of our National Health and Wholeness Program. For you and for your loved ones, this is information that can help you make good choices that can lead to a longer, more fulfilling life. As you see, the prevention and control of diabetes is a serious public health issue, especially for African Americans. To rise to this challenge, we must be strong in body as well as in spirit. So we have gathered some people to tell us how they learned to take charge of their health, in the hope that their stories can help you live a healthier life too.
You can live a long time, but you've got to do the right thing.
Being diagnosed doesn't mean that you have been given a death sentence. While at this juncture it is not curable, it is treatable.
And just have tight control so, you won't have complications in the future.
It's easy to deal with, and it's stupid not to deal with it.
If you want to live, you've got to pay attention to your body. You've got to pay attention, and you've got to know the signs, because the signs are so subtle.
Diabetes is a condition in which the body either does not make enough or does not respond normally to the hormone insulin. And when that happens, the blood sugar levels rise into abnormally high levels, and a person is at risk for complications including blindness, kidney disease, amputations, and premature heart attacks.
It sounds serious. It is. 16 million people have it, and the disease is on the rise. And while it threatens everyone, diabetes is a particular threat for African Americans. They are 27% more likely to die from diabetes, which strikes 1 in 10 of the overall African American population, and 1 in 4 African American women over 50.
Hello, Dolly.
Hello. But in many cases, diabetes and its complications can be prevented with care and awareness. In this program, you'll see how diabetes affects both famous folks and everyday people. And you'll see how they moved from awareness of symptoms to treatment and long-term management. Getting help starts when you get the test.
I decide whether to give a patient a test for diabetes by determining their risk factors for diabetes based on their ethnic background, their previous medical problems or problems that they've had, or if there was a particular symptom presenting that might be an indicator that they have diabetes.
Some people develop diabetes when they're very young. The pancreas stops producing insulin, so the cells cannot process sugar. It's called type 1 diabetes. The biggest risk factor is a family history of this form of the disease. Type 2 diabetes usually comes on in adulthood, and it is far more common. 9 out of 10 diabetics have it. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas still produces insulin, but the body doesn't respond to it, a condition that's called insensitivity to insulin. Type 2 diabetes also runs in families, but your lifestyle plays a major role in whether you hold it off or invite it in.
The other thing that predicts whether you get type 2 diabetes is obesity and a sedentary lifestyle. So if you gain weight as you get older and have an inactive lifestyle, you're at very high risk for developing this disease if it runs in your family. In African Americans, there is a greater preponderance of obesity, particularly in African American women. And African American women have a high rate of disease, have high rates of complications, and also have more premature death.
The stakes are high. Among American adults, diabetes is the leading cause of blindness and kidney failure. It quadruples the risk of heart disease and stroke. It's the cause of 90,000 amputations a year. These things don't have to happen.
Patients are often nervous about diabetes and they need reassurance. We do this by, first, letting them know that this is a problem that can be adequately treated and controlled, thus to prevent complications.
Prevention, treatment, control. 3 keys to taming diabetes, and they all start with education. Learning what the disease is and how to manage it.
These are some of my father's World Series trophies that he's accumulated over the years. This one's from 1977 and 1978 when he was a player. He was a second baseman. And these 2 down here from 1998 and 1999 when he was a coach. He's the third base coach for the Yankees.
Chantre Randolph could win a different kind of trophy than her famous father, Willie. When it comes to managing diabetes, she is a true champion.
I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 7 years old. So at 7 years old, you really don't know at all what that is.
Chantre had symptoms, fatigue and weight loss, that her doctor at first brushed off as a passing illness. But her mother pressed for another answer.
My mom's like, you know, I know my child, this is not right. She's not sick like this all the time normally. One day I went to the pediatrician. They said, you know what, let's just test her for diabetes. And they tested my blood sugar, and it was sky high. It was way out of control. So I was immediately taken to the hospital.
The first reaction, fear.
You hear you have this disease, and you think disease, you think, oh, that means I'm automatically going to die. But they explained to me that, no, you're going to be fine. It's just your lifestyle is going to change. When I was in the hospital, they showed me how to prick my finger. You're going to have to do it at least 4 times a day, and then taking the insulin injection.
Chantre has type 1 diabetes. She needs insulin injections so her body can process sugar. To find out how much insulin she needs, she must monitor her blood sugar level on a regular basis. That's not an easy task for a child to learn.
My mom was constantly monitoring me. In the middle of the night, she would wake me up because I had to test my blood sugar to make sure it wasn't too high or too low. I would test my blood sugar when I woke up, eat and take insulin, the proper amount of insulin, and it's just basically you're testing every time you eat and certain periods throughout the day. And I was like, I think it was in 1st or 2nd grade, so I would be in class and it would be 10 o'clock and everyone else would be doing their work, and I'd have to, you know, raise my hand, excuse me, I have to test my blood sugar now.
By the time she reached her teenage years, Chantre was adept at monitoring her blood sugar and giving herself insulin treatments.
You learn to do it. If you know it's going to help you out, it has to become a part of your life.
Chantre Randolph is a thriving example of a successful approach to diabetes management. Type 1 diabetes is an inherited disease. It can be controlled, but not prevented. Sadly, the kind of diabetes that can often be warded off with healthy lifestyle choices is on the rise, especially among young people.
We're now seeing the onset of type 2 diabetes earlier and earlier. We're even seeing it in children, particularly in high-risk minority groups. There are a lot of reasons for this, one of which is because there is this strong genetic susceptibility. But a genetic susceptibility is just that. It's a risk. It doesn't give you a disease unless you trigger it. And what's triggering the disease in these people who are at risk are our lifestyles. The obesity that we're seeing, the fact that our children are in front of videos and in front of televisions and are not doing exercise, these are all things which say to us, we all need to be mindful of the need for some early screening and for changing our lifestyle in the direction of more activity and less caloric intake if we're really going to create healthier communities. That's not just the government's job. That's not just the school's job. That's all of our responsibility.
Paul Winfield shows that type 2 diabetes does not avoid talent and fame. He's an Emmy winner, Oscar nominee, chef, dog lover, and diabetic.
I was in my senior year in college. I was about 19 and a half. I was just totally exhausted. I could barely get out of bed, couldn't make it to school, couldn't concentrate, and couldn't generate any energy.
Like many people with type 2 diabetes, Paul suffered with the symptoms without making the connection. Until a great aunt insisted he go see a doctor, he had no idea what was causing his problem.
Remember, 40 to 50% of type 2 diabetes, particularly in high-risk groups like African Americans, is still undiagnosed. These are people that are walking around with the disease, and they don't know it.
Now, the actor is all too familiar with the symptoms of a sugar imbalance. He knows what will happen if he is distracted from his management routine.
And sometimes it just really sneaks up on you when you least expect it. If I'm weak, if I'm tired, things like that, I know things are amiss.
When he's uncertain about how he feels, Paul doesn't hesitate to get in touch with his doctor. He believes communication is essential.
Listen to your doctor. Even if it's just on the phone, just check in and tell him, you know, I'm feeling a little woozy this morning. My blood sugar is a little low, it's a little high. What should I do? I just want to check in with you. I know I should do more or less insulin, but I'm just checking with you to make sure that we both know what's going on.
Dolly is receiving medication to control type 2 diabetes as well. She fits another risk category. She's pregnant. Gestational diabetes is the term that describes a temporary problem with insulin production that occurs during pregnancy. The diagnosis is made on the basis of routine screening. One of many reasons it's important to get frequent prenatal checkups.
And your blood sugar is 98, so we're gestational. That's very good.
So I was worried about how gestational diabetes would affect my pregnancy and my unborn child. But with reassurance from my doctor, teaching me about how I can manage my blood sugar levels, diet and exercise, I knew that I would be okay.
Having gestational diabetes doubles Dolly's chances of developing type 2 diabetes later in life. Like someone with a family history of the disease, she must be especially careful about her overall health and her weight. And she must be especially vigilant about the signs and symptoms.
I want you to put your hands together and let's make some noise up in this house.